Before we start, I just want to say that this video took 3.5 years to finally get out. I am proud, not extremely overjoyed or anything, just proud of how this first half went. I have to make this a multi-parter because my phone can't hold that much storage, and when trying to edit the video further, it starts to skip frames very badly. That's a sign that you're taking up too much storage there, pal. So yeah, just wanted to get this out and let you guys know that I am still here. I'm still making videos. Time's just been a little bit tough for me. I'm still trying to find a new job again. And with New Year's Eve coming along, I wanted to do at least 3 videos around this time, but I wasted an entire week doing nothing. This might be a 2 or 3 part video. Anyway, enjoy the video, and if I don't see you before midnight, Happy New Year. If you guys enjoy the video, consider subscribing and hit the notification bell, and leave a comment in the comment section down below. Ride the Lightning is the second album by heavy metal band Metallica, released on July 27, 1984, by the independent record label Megaforce Records. The album was recorded in only 3 weeks with producer Flemming Rasmussen at the Sweet Silent Studios in Copenhagen, Denmark. The artwork, based on a concept by the band, depicts an electric chair being struck by lightning flowing from the band's logo, which is glowing blue. The title was taken from a passage in Stephen King's novel The Stand, in which a character uses the phrase to refer to execution by electric chair. Though it's rooted in the thrash metal genre, this album showcased the band's musical growth and lyrical sophistication. This was partly due to bassist Cliff Burton introducing the basics of musical theory to the rest of the group, and he had more input in the songwriting. Instead of relying heavily on fast tempos, as on its debut album Kill 'Em All, Metallica broadened its approach by employing acoustic guitars, an 8-minute instrumental finale, and more complex harmonies. The overall recording costs were paid by the band's Euro label, Music for Nations, as Megaforce wouldn't cover it. It is the only other album to feature songwriting contributions from former lead guitarist Dave Mustaine, and the first to feature his replacement Kirk Hammett completely. Running for about 47 minutes, it is Metallica's shortest studio album to date. Ride the Lightning received a positive response from music critics, who saw it as a more ambitious effort than its predecessor. The band also promoted the record on their European tour, Bang That Head That Doesn't Bang, in late 1984, on its North American leg in its first half of the following year. The band performed at major music fests, such as Monsters of Rock and Day on the Green in 1985. Only 2 months after its release, Elektra Records signed Metallica to a multi-year deal and reissued the album, where it peaked at number 100 on the Billboard 200 with no radio exposure whatsoever. Even though 75,000 copies were initially pressed for the American market, the record sold 500,000 by November of 1987. The album was certified 6X Platinum by the RIAA in 2012 for shipping 6 million copies in the US. Wow. Many rock publications have ranked it on their best albums list, saying that it had a lasting impact on the genre. The album helped to establish thrash metal, a heavy metal subgenre defined by its brisk riffs and intense percussion. After finishing its promo tour, Metallica began composing new material, and from September, they began performing the songs that were to make up Ride the Lightning at concerts. Due to the band having little money, its members often ate a single meal a day and stayed at fans' homes while playing at clubs across the US. However, an incident occurred when part of the band's gear was stolen in Boston, and the heavy metal group Anthrax lent Metallica some of their equipment to complete the tour dates. When they weren't performing, they stayed in a rented home in El Cerrito, California, known as the Metallica Mansion. Frontman James Hetfield had felt uneasy about performing double duty on vocals and rhythm guitar, so the band offered the job to the Armored Saint singer John Bush. But he turned down the offer because Armored Saint was doing well at the time. Hetfield gradually built his confidence as lead vocalist and ended up keeping his role as we know today. Metallica started recording on February 20th, 1984 at the Sweet Silent Studios, and it was produced by Flemming Rasmussen, who was also the founder of the studios. Drummer Lars Ulrich chose him, as he liked how he worked with British rock band Rainbow for their 1981 album Difficult to Cure, and he was keen to record in Europe. Rasmussen, who hasn't heard of the band, agreed to work on the album, even though his studio employees questioned the band's talent. But he listened to their tapes before the members even arrived and thought that they had great potential. Metallica rehearsed the album's material at Merciful Fate's practice room in Copenhagen. Before entering the studio, the band collected ideas on riff tape recordings of various jam sessions. Hetfield and Ulrich went through the tapes and selected the strongest riffs to assemble the songs. Instruments were recorded separately, with only Hetfield playing rhythm guitar. Rasmussen, with the support of drum roadie Flemming Larsen, taught the basics of timing and beat duration to Lars Ulrich, who had a tendency to increase speed and had little knowledge of rhythm theory. The drums were recorded in an empty warehouse at the back of the studio, which was not soundproof, which caused reverberation, which explains the vocals. Though 4 tracks were arranged, the band was not used to creating songs in the studio, as they had never even done so for their debut, Kill 'Em All. Now, the middle 3 tracks, For Whom the Bell Tolls, Trapped Under Ice, and Escape, were mostly written in Copenhagen, and they put the finishing touches on Fight Fire with Fire, the album's opener, along with the title track Ride the Lightning, Creeping Death, and the instrumental album Closer, which was already performed live. Lead guitarist Kirk Hammett took the album's name from a passage in Stephen King's novel The Stand. The cover art was conceived before recording began. Now, let's get into a bit of an issue that they came up with after this. The band had sound problems, due to their gear being stolen 3 weeks before they arrived in Copenhagen. The band slept in the studio by day as they couldn't afford a hotel and recorded by night, as the studio was booked by other artists during the day. As the group was looking for a major label deal, several A&R representatives from different labels visited the studio. At first it seemed like they were going to sign with Bronze Records, but the deal was cancelled, as Bronze executive Jerry Braun didn't appreciate the work that they were doing at the studio. Hell, he wanted the US edition to be remixed by engineer Eddie Kramer, and he even considered re-recording the album in another. Put off by Braun's failure to share the band's artistic vision, Metallica decided to let him go and look for a new label for the US release, though Bronze had already advertised Metallica as one of its bands. And Metallica had to record quickly due to European shows scheduled 29 days after entering the studio. Recording finished on March 14th, and Megaforce released the record on July 27th. Though the original budget was $20,000, the final expense was above $30,000. Metallica's European label, Music for Nations, paid the studio costs because Megaforce owner John Zazula couldn't afford them. The band was not happy with the lack of promotion by Megaforce, so they decided to part ways with Zazula. Now, major label Elektra Records employee Michael Alago, God I hope I pronounced that right, noticed the band at the Stone gig in San Francisco, and invited Elektra's chairman and the head of production to their August show in New York. The performance at the Roseland Ballroom, with Anthrax and Metallica opening for Raven, pleased the staff, and the band was offered a contract the following morning. On September 12th, Metallica signed with Elektra, which re-released Ride the Lightning on November 19th. Cliff Bernstein and Peter Mensch of Q Prime were concurrently appointed as the band's managers. Ride the Lightning was the only other album to feature contributions from Dave Mustaine, who received credit on the title track and The Call of Cthulhu. The record also represented the first time that Hammett was given credits, but it was his first major involvement with the band. Other music writers have discussed the album as exhibiting great musical maturity, with sonically broader songs than its predecessor, which was noted for its one-dimensional sound. This is partly due to bassist Cliff Burton's knowledge of music theory. He showed Hetfield how to augment core notes with complementary countermelodies and how basic guitar harmony works, which reflected on song compositions.